All right, good afternoon and welcome to Teams A Day in the Life from a project manager's perspective. My name is Emily Carlson and I'm the Vice President of Technology for Divergent. And today I'm really excited to have a conversation with my technical project management team about how they use Microsoft Teams to help drive efficiencies and really run their projects in a collaborative way. And for us here at Divergent, sometimes those projects can be internal, but also our client-facing delivery projects as well. So really excited to have my project management team join us today. My co-moderator is Jose Maldonado. So Jose, do you want to say a quick hello? Oh, we can't hear you, Jose. You forgot to unmute.
I said, good morning. Hello, everyone. Good, welcome.
There you are. Thank you.
It was good when you do it twice.
The second time is always better, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Well, with that, I'm actually going to turn it over to Jose, you and the project management team to do some quick introductions and to get us started on this really exciting conversation about project management and the use of Teams on our day-to-day tasks. So thanks, you guys.
Yes, welcome to A Day in the Life with Teams and Project from the project manager's perspective. So I'll have the PM team introduce themselves, starting with Selena.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Selena Huck. I'm one of the technical project managers here at Divergent.
Hi, I'm Trisha Cartledge. I'm a technical project manager also here at Divergent.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Mike Bright. I am a consultant with Divergent and I help with project management and internal and external operations.
And good afternoon. My name is Brian Malang, also a technical project manager, and I'm excited to be working with the team.
Okay, guys, so we'll kick it off and I'll hand it over to you guys.
Sure, I can get us started with this. So I guess getting started or planning for the day, typically I get up, crack of dawn. I've got two little ones that I have to work on getting ready, but in the middle of the chaos, typically the first thing I do is jump on my calendar and kind of see what the lay of the land is for the day as far as appointments go. So I kind of want to make sure that I'm where I need to be when I need to be there, so that way I can be prepared for these meetings. So I'll look around, kind of scope out the calendar, make sure there's not any action items or preparation I need to do for those particular meetings. And then I'll jump on and check any tagged communications or any channel activity or any just instant messages that I may have had the night before to make sure that I haven't missed anything urgent. And that's really how I kind of start the day. I'll grab a gigantic cup of coffee and head and drop the kids off at school and then get back and kind of start plugging away at my action items. But one of the things I tend to do as well in the morning specifically is check on any planner tasks. So I'll go to Planner in Teams to make sure that I don't have any outstanding action items, to also kind of find time during the day between meetings to make sure that I'm kind of working down that list of items. That's sort of kind of high level how I get rolling.
I agree with you, Mike. I mean, one of the big things for me is I have to have that cup of coffee. And then from that point on, I am checking my schedule, by going into Teams, looking at my calendars to see what items I have. And then the other thing I do is I check to see, what urgent items, or chats that I may have missed and stuff. And I go back and I follow up with my team to see, is there anything that's urgent that needs to be resolved right now, by either chatting with them on Teams and, or either giving them a call on Teams if it's something that we need to actually have a discussion about.
And I would agree with Selena and Michael too. And just to add that our days are always dynamic, they're always changing. And I know first thing in the morning, I may have a new meeting invite that I want to double check, see the content and see the audience list. And that way I'm adjusting my meeting schedule as necessary.
So for planner tasks, how many of you guys are utilizing that for keeping your schedule straight during the day? I know I try to, if I don't have a planner on something, or at least, you know, some kind of even a calendar reminder, sometimes I'll set for myself to make sure that I get up in the morning and do, you know, task XYZ. But are you all assigning tasks to your project team members through Teams?
Absolutely. And it's a great feature to keep us all honest. And, you know, as Brian says, sometimes we wake up in the morning and we have new meeting invites or new tasks or tags. And it just, you know, really helps me keep myself honest and my day focused, and knowing that I'm going to be able to accomplish everything that's there for me and until the next thing arises.
I think one of well, it can be good and it can be annoying sometimes, but the reminders and email for your assigned tasks, they're not going to let you forget that those things are outstanding or upcoming. I can tell you that right now. So that's why I try to jump in and take a peek at those in the morning. And then I know, oh, you know, I got to jump on this. This is coming up. So that, again, that's kind of the first thing I kind of look at in the morning to make sure that there's not anything outstanding or urgent for that matter.
I think you guys all missed one thing.
What's that, Emily?
The phone calls you get from me first thing in the morning. And Mike, you and I tend to do those when we're out walking.
So I know, since we've all been kind of grounded and working from home, I noticed, especially with the Apple Watch, that wasn't quite moving as much as I typically do. So I've made a point to jump out in the mornings after the kids are dropped off and at least try to move a little bit. You know, if it's 2 miles, whatever that is that I can get in 30, 35 minutes. But typically try to make sure that I'm productive during that time. So checking in with Emily, giving updates on previous tasks or stuff that just kind of bled over from the day before. Just make sure we're all on the same page and we know what we need to get done today, in between, again, all the tasks and meetings and appointments and emails and the rest of the fun stuff. So that's kind of how I've been keeping myself straight, and also kind of moving a little bit and not being so stagnant.
Maybe we can have a project management step bet, like a step challenge. Jose, what do you think?
Yep, and you guys can take the lead on that.
I wonder if there's a way to integrate, you know, it would be interesting to see, because, you know, for all of us, you know, using Teams to drive our day, like you guys are talking about planner, and I know sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh, that's a lot of notices in my inbox. Like, how are we going to digest these one by one? And sometimes that means like getting up and actually moving as we're doing this. You think Brendan could create a step counter for us to be integrated into Teams?
I mean, it's either that or screenshotting from your Apple Watch into Teams.
Yeah.
Which I've done during Microsoft Ignite.
I don't know if our development team is going to be too happy about us assigning work to them again right now.
Well, whoever wants to take the lead on creating the project schedule for that, go for it.
No, but I think that's important, though, being that we don't know how long we're going to be remote. And even though we're a virtual company to begin with, but just the extended you know, working from home and being remote, getting active, we have to kind of get into the somehow some type of regimen but it's fun at the same time, and team building, you know, could be a part of it as well.
Yeah, one of the things that I did, so we were doing some stakeholder interviews for a particular piece of content we were developing. And I noticed that if I threw the headphones on and just kind of moved around while I was re-listening to those meetings, I felt like I digested the information a little bit more and was able to kind of to comprehend and get it all captured. And again, using Teams to co-author some of those documents, which we'll jump into, which might be a good segue actually. You know, we'll be able to jump in and kind of be, I feel like, more productive and kind of have the information flowing a little bit easier when you're up and moving and not just stuck in that chair for 2 hours straight without moving a little bit.
Actually, Mike, that's a really good segue for looking at the next slide for document collaboration. I think it depends on which project we're all talking about, if it's all internal or if it's external facing. I know from my experience would be from like an internal perspective for teams, it's where the whole project team's doing a technical review, whether it's regression testing or peer reviewing through design or some type of analysis from like a strategic perspective, that's where the collaboration through teams for document check is really powerful. And it's valuable because as each team member goes through and sees the edits, we can all add for what the flavor should be and just our notes, because each person brings a unique perspective to the table. So we say, hey, let's say for code unit testing, one person's code may have to be checked versus another person, and it just allows that equal distribution of spot checking. Whereas for some projects I found that are external, most of the collaboration for document check is from a project plan or a status update. And a real life perfect example is actually yesterday, an early morning call was on a project status report, going through the project plan and double checking where we are from a phase perspective, or just from a project health check. You're saying, hey, so we're tracking green trending green, but what are we looking 2 to 3 weeks out? Is it, possibly yellow based on risks, issues, and open decisions? I think depending on if the project's internal or external can really factor in which document you're going to be opening up. So curious on the other PMs, other thoughts on how you use documents from an internal or an external perspective.
Yeah, that's a good point, Brian. I mean, like for me, one of the things that I do is my team, when they have a document that's ready for review, they'll do, an app mention or, put in comments, that type of stuff, letting me know that, the document's ready for review. And then that way I can go in and respond back to them and let them know that, okay, hey, we might want to add this or, change the screenshot or, whatever it may be when it comes to the documents. So that's a good part. That's one of the things I like about when it comes to teams and being able to utilize that collaboration piece.
Yeah, I think one of the things that has really helped us in the last, I'd say, probably 6 or so months is developing project schedules. So if we're actually, working on building the project plan and we've got all the different disciplines on, instead of having to have 3 or 4 different 15-minute phone calls or email threads back and forth, we can literally look at the task on the project schedule and say, hey, what do we think this is going to take, or how much effort is this going to be involved in, and how quickly can we kind of get this done and get it hammered out and have a true, idea of what that package is going to take to complete. So I think that's been helpful for our team specifically in the last couple of months since we've been working remote.
And I think just to add on there, Mike, to what you're mentioning too, depends on the stakeholders too. Depending on who all of us as PMs, who we have to apprise status of, or if there's a technical question in mind, a specific piece that we need to present, you could have someone like Emily. If Emily's asking, hey, so Brian, where are we at from a code unit testing perspective? Or if we have a different stakeholder asking more about a general strategic level in the project plan, our notes are going to differ in the project plan for who's asking us those questions. So I think for the general audience, for a PM, you have to be ready for any type of question that is technical in nature or strategic in nature, depending on the stakeholder. And that's why the project plan is so valuable with the notes we put in there to share on teams. So we have an organized view, and that way it's also organized as well.
Yeah, and we talked about co-authoring and then the project schedule, but when we're actually executing the work, so for instance, if we've got a working session with a client and we're kind of shoulder surfing or sharing screens, and we've had that technology before and it's nothing new for us, but the ability to go back into a Teams channel and pull up documentation or technical documentation or links or sharing that between the chat participants, being able to switch control of those screens all in one interface without having to leave and use multiple applications to do that, to me has been another big time saver in the last, I'd say, a couple of months since we've all been remote. And it's great to be there side by side in a boardroom or whatever when we can, working on the technical pieces. But the new ability for, breaking out some of these meetings, having chat broken out, some of those have really made the Teams experience or interface a lot more user-friendly when we're kind of trying to do 8 things at one time, for lack of a better way to describe it. So I've noticed that tremendously helping move that part along as well.
Exactly. Agree.
I mean, there can also be, collaboration fatigue or, to give you an example, there could be times that, multiple people are in documents working, and you may type something in and then somebody it deletes what you wrote and puts something else. So there can also be that over collaboration as well.
Yeah, so I've actually experienced that too. So, I'm looking at a document and I feel like the way it's flowing, this particular paragraph needs to be blocked out here. And then the other person that's actually in the document real time, may have had a different idea of how that's flowing, and we're just not on the same page. So I've just copied and pasted one piece from somewhere else, and then the remainder has been pasted somewhere else. So it kind of gets jumbled. So you really have to leverage the comments on the side of the Word docs, or even spin up a quick screen share or a call now if there's too many folks kind of working on it. I mean, if we've had enough time to have a couple of messages beforehand and get on the same page, that's great. But if you've got 6 or 7 folks from different departments on the same doc at one time, it can be a little dangerous.
Yeah, and that's where I agree with adding the comments and stuff like that in there, that if you do have multiple people, making updates or changes to a document, try to use the comment saying, hey, maybe we should try to change this, if they're not available for a call right that second.
Yeah, I agree. Totally.
Yeah, I've plenty of times pinged the people on Teams as well. If we're not able to call, we're all multitasking, and just chit-chatted that way also to get a better understanding and come to a mutual agreement on what the best selection is for that update.
Hey guys, you actually have a question from one of the attendees. And that question is, as project managers, do you use all of the features, including planner, tasks, teams, teams and to-dos? So do you guys take advantage of all of the features and functionalities that are there?
Absolutely. I try and use as many as I can to keep my day flowing. And it's interesting that more tasks and features come out daily or weekly. So I like to use the help section when I have a free minute and see what new stuff is out there. So it's good stuff, and it definitely helps our day and minimizes our time spent and makes things more efficiently.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, one of the new features that I know was recently, released is lists, and I use that to actually, keep track of stuff with the team and stuff. And then there's also the Microsoft Project integration as well with Teams that we can use. When you're starting a new project and stuff, to actually have your project schedule sync back and forth. With Teams as well as your PWA instance.
And I've been waiting on that one for a while. I know Brian has, because I teamed up with Brian on a couple of projects where even though we can share the project schedule via Teams, we could not view it inside of Teams. We always had to download it or open it up in SharePoint.
Yeah, so one of the ways I differentiate, and I know to do and tasks or planner have been kind of merged into one, but it just depends on how I'm trying to work on the particular action item or task. So I'll actually create a calendar invite for myself if I know I need to work on, heads down an hour to get this done. It's got to get finished before the end of the week. So I'm going to grab Tuesday, whatever my free block is, and make a calendar appointment for myself. But I'll use the to-do or the planner tasks to actually set those up for myself. So I know I've got to do, these 8 or 9 things in the next 3 weeks, and then I'll just take those and create the calendar reminders. So that way, not only do I have another reminder in another place, but I've got the time block in the calendar to actually complete the work. So that's sort of how I've been using it to keep myself straight.
Absolutely, I do as well, Mike. It's a great feature, and it allows us to manage our time and not get interruptions and get our task at hand done.
Yeah, I think that's a good, transition into the calendar and tag management.
Yeah, you guys heard how I'm using the calendar. I'd be curious to see what you guys, if you're doing anything similar or anything different, because and I'm always open to learn a better way to do it.
Well, this is a favorite topic for me because, as I said earlier, I'm all about utilizing features to help keep me honest and keep my day flowing and make sure I don't miss anything along the way. So calendar entries allows us to, I use my calendar for everything. That's the heart and soul of my day. It shows me, what I have going on, when I have it going on. I can go into Teams, view my calendar, as well as join my meetings, quickly from one meeting to the next, as well as my meeting management in the calendar when we have, notes for a meeting, or if I need to tag somebody to say, this is the task that we need you to help with. There's a lot of great features there. For the tag management, it is something that I've been relying on heavily with multitasking and multi-projects. Your day gets kind of busy and hectic. So it's nice when someone is in Teams and has a question for me. Sometimes we don't see that little box popping up at the bottom or have several of them. And when you do the Trisha Cartledge, it will then alert me and tag me to say someone has a question for me, someone needs something for me, or I'm on the hook for an action item. So for me, that really helps tremendously.
Yeah, I can remember having Skype for Business, and even Link. So if you're messaging back and forth with folks, and I was kind of one of the people that was like super quick on the escape key. So if I answered, I would hit escape and close the window out. And then it was just kind of gone. So with at least with the tagged communications, you can go back and look at your history and see who you responded to, or if you hit escape twice and somebody was actually IMing you at the same time, or hit escape at the wrong time when you got a message, it would just clear that message out and you couldn't even read it before it was closed. So I do enjoy that feature. I would always get myself in trouble with the escape key with Link for sure.
Yeah, and another good feature when it does come to the tag management is it actually sends you an email. So for example, if you're not like right there, like paying attention to your Teams and stuff, and you're looking at your email and Outlook or whatever it may be, you actually get an email that lets you know that, hey, somebody tagged you and this item.
Yeah. But to me, like, again, going back to what I kind of mentioned before, creating those appointments and having it in my calendar, I hate to admit it, I still haven't gotten completely used to being able to have that planner to be 100% of my to-do list, because again, it doesn't block your time. So you may have 8 or 9 things, but if you leave your calendar open, you know it's going to get filled up. So I do still rely heavily on that, even for reminders. Like I'll just put free time on my calendar for like a 7:30, just to remind me to follow up with somebody, or check on status of XYZ. So I still use it pretty heavily in that regard.
And I think for the audience, just for everyone to know, again, I think we can't stress it enough. Our schedules change so much minute by minute based on we'll have to multitask between different invites, whether it's internal or a client-facing call. I can definitely say that calendar through Teams has been so helpful for me, just so I can prioritize which meeting I can make, or if I have to jump off early to another one. And the hashtag's the best way, at least for me, to get a hold of me, because otherwise we all try to be so diligent and focused right on that meeting that's happening. So I would agree with you, Mike.
So absolutely, Brian. And also once we're conversing on Teams, responding to a tag, you also can hit the Meet Now button, which is just a wonderful, wonderful option. Sometimes you just have to speak to somebody, going back and forth. I think Mike had the rule of thumb, you go back and forth, 8 times, you're going to just make a quick phone call, and that helps. So you press the button in Teams, you're automatically talking to whoever it is in that chat, whether it's a one-on-one or a group phone call. It's an easy peasy, get the answers you need and move on with your day.
Yeah. And Brian, you made a good point too. So, you know, your head's down in a meeting, you're trying to focus, you're taking notes, you might be facilitating, and then you've got chat messages popping up. So, you know, if you do have to go on Do Not Disturb to make sure you're all in on this meeting and 100% focused, the tags are something that you can go back to and make sure that you can still follow up with those folks that are trying to reach out to you. So that's another, you know, good way to keep your mind in the meeting and make sure you're not trying to multitask and be 8 places at once, and then still get back and resolve whatever the issue or need is after that. So.
Yeah, no, exactly, Mike. And I'll freely raise my hand and say that I may not catch every single hashtag, every single @ symbol to try to reach everyone's question or concern, but at least what's helpful is at least I can see in Teams that list of those that are prioritized or those that are there, and I can go, okay, I can prioritize who I didn't get to, and usually I let folks know, hey, acknowledge, I see your question, give me 10 minutes and I'll get back to you. So that team member knows that, you know, I see it and I'm on it and I'll get back to them. So yep, absolutely, Mike.
Yeah, and it helps to create targeted communication. So if you want to, you know, maybe you want to send it to the PM group and not necessarily the engineers, you know, you're able to kind of grab just a select few folks in the chat, or if it's a, you know, we're posting in a Teams channel, it's not just getting blasted. Well, I mean, everybody can see it, obviously, if you're communicating that way, but at least it's alerting the people that you truly want to see it, which I think is cool.
Absolutely. That was going to be my next point for the breakouts, for the individual breakouts. There's a large group of people you're speaking to in a meeting, and you make it to a smaller breakout. And so you're not wasting everybody's time, or everyone doesn't have to read all of these chats. You break it out to a smaller section. You can get more specific and more detailed, and it's definitely useful.
Yeah, and I know it. I know we're going to talk about Team Huddle in a second, so I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. But you know, we do have that running, you know, long group chat with the entire team, and I think it's great that, you know, if you're able to find an article or a bug. I mean, Jill found a pretty crazy bug with SharePoint recently that she was able to let us know. But we can kind of @ the folks that are involved in that large group message and get the information out there. Or even if it's, you know, a 0-day vulnerability, we want to target, you know, the technology team and not, you know, the entire PM team, the folks that would be involved in implementing that fix. You know, you can kind of get it to the right folks.
Yeah, I think that's a good transition into the team huddle. One of the biggest things that I personally love with the team huddle is that I can actually, if, you know, when everybody's on that team huddle, we can actually go in and respond back to different things or post, you know, items and stuff to the team. But we can also use OneNote. So within that team huddle, I can actually take, you know, meeting notes or, you know, and it's actually shared with the entire team, you know, from that OneNote document. I don't know about you guys. I mean, do you guys usually use OneNote or?
Oh, I live by OneNote. That's what keeps me honest and with all of our projects and similar projects in our meetings, and that's my heart and soul of my project management. You know, I know we have project plans that we look at individually, but my OneNote has everything. It's at a glance, everything.
Go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say, I would say, Selena, to answer your question, yeah, absolutely, that OneNote helps in capturing the chain when we're talking to different clients on what we've agreed to, what's the deliverable, or if something's changed mid-flight and we have to do like a change request. I'd say also for me, and I'm not sure if the other PMs I might use this too, is I compare that and make a date and put that in the project plan, so I can kind of look at the task line and compare one-to-one, like when we look at like our SOWs. But yes, I agree. OneNote helps keep all of our notes organized and see if any changes happen mid-flight.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is a right brain versus left brain type deal, but as far as OneNote goes, I like to take bulleted notes during a meeting, or I mean, even a class, or, you know, Ignite, for instance, if there's a topic that I'm learning about, or you know, a longer 1 hour or so meeting, I feel like if I'm taking bulleted notes, I comprehend the information so much better, where I can go back and recall it from memory versus having to go back and actually read the notes. So for some reason, using those structured notes in OneNote really helps me retain the information better and kind of have a better recall, I guess, if you will, from just memory, as opposed to having to go back and keep digging through documents to pull up the information. So it kind of does two things for me. You know, number one, keeping myself organized and having a historical, you know, reference point of a conversation or a meeting or whatever that is, and then being able to kind of digest it and retain it better. So I absolutely love OneNote.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. And then the other, option, the other item that I use a lot too is planner. So, planner or to do, you can either use list if you're, doing, if you want to, or you can use the to do or planner. And with planner, it actually, I know we briefly discussed this a little bit, but it allows the users to know what task has been assigned to them, and they're actually getting those reminders. So when we have our regular, daily huddles and stuff like that with the team, if something based off of that conversation, if there's a new task or action item, I can actually put it in planner and they're going to get a notification about it.
Yeah, it's a good way to keep people honest and what their, their tasks and action item are, and be able to go back and check on them. I mean, you can actually go to the planner task and look at the notes and see what the activity is and see how far along they are, or if they need, assistance from somebody else, or there's some kind of a some kind of a critical path item that's keeping them from completing that task. We can go back and kind of try to jump in as PMs and help them get that resolved so they can continue to finish the activity. So definitely.
I love the fact that we can go back and look at all of the history, whether it's with planner, with teams, the team huddle, or our team conversations. I love that we can, go and look at the history, just to refresh our memory or see who's done what, or, what have you. It's just nice that team stores everything there for us.
Brian, how do you do with teams and the team huddle and the planner review?
I'd say in terms of the team huddle, it's like you mentioned that, or like the team had gone through, utilizing planner for general tasks. I think the thing I also am very cautionate for folks too is knowing that our entire technical team is on a plethora of projects. It's also asking on which projects we want to utilize planner first, and it depends on the scope of the project. Those that are small versus larger in nature, I'll kind of figure out which project I want to use more for planner, but capture everything through OneNote, and then make those notes available in Teams, depending on which channel we're using. Because I think folks also have to remember too that we have external facing channels and internal facing channels. So we have to be careful on where we're posting content. But I really enjoy using the team huddle as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. So do we want to talk about wrapping up the day? I can tell you guys how I typically end my day, and it's going back to the calendar again. That's normally what I do. And throughout the day, if I'm supporting, internal operations and helping folks with internal projects or technical issues, I try to reach out through either email or Teams, a Teams chat or something to that effect. And I like to go in, make sure there's nothing critical or any of those responses that I can kind of help them with that evening. But I always go back to my calendar, make sure that I kind of know what's going on the day upcoming. And then if there's anything I need to do to prepare for those meetings, I make sure that I kind of get that in order. So that way in the morning, I'm not scrambling when I'm kind of doing my morning routine.
Yeah, I agree with you. One of the things I do is like every day at the end of the day, I go in to check the list app to see where the team are on those action items or, items that I did assign to them to see, if it's completed yet, if it's in review, if I need to review it or if it's in peer review or so forth. I do that every single day. And then, I also look at my calendar to see what I have planned for the next day. Because if I got to be up at 7:30 in the morning, I want to make sure I know so I can set my alarm clock correctly and have my first cup of coffee before then.
I got to echo Selena completely on that, because depending on, where we're all located, time zone wise, I can adjust, when I have my notes ready or when we're talking about a presentation. I think one thing I'll add on though for all the PMs is I really have to thank also like our technical leads. If I need to double check status, like I know examples Jose and I have on previous projects, touch base at the end of the day on where we're at or preparing for the next meeting for the next day. And I think looking at what we have from the slide, praising the team, because a day in and day out, each day changes, and our team works hard to answer the challenges and needs of our customers. So it's almost like a quick pause and double checking where we are and how we're progressing the next day. So the calendars and then also checking with certain team members has been really valuable for me.
Yeah, so I'll give you some more kind of insight into how my life has changed since we've all been kind of grounded. So my wife is actually a healthcare worker, so I am kind of typically on the hook for pick up and drop off from school. So towards the end of the day, I do have to pick up and go mobile. So I'll either try to bring a laptop or an iPad with me to school, and I'll kind of get in the parking lot and get there a couple of minutes early so I can get the hotspot set up, and then I'll either respond to emails, answer phone calls, or attend meetings, and then kind of use the school's parking lot as sort of a home office on wheels, if you will. But I kind of switched gears to the mobile aspect of Teams and the Microsoft product suite. So that's helped me to stay productive and to still be able to make sure that I'm picking them up and they're not hanging out wondering where dad is in the parking lot after school. But I'm just curious to see how you guys are using the mobile features of Teams and how that's changed since we've all been kind of grounded.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean,
Go ahead.
go ahead, Trisha.
Sometimes I feel that that we are robots. Like we said, our day is crazy. It's changing by the hour. But there's been plenty of times that I've been on my mobile phone and my computer with Teams on both of them and taking meetings from both of them. And I use my mobile device like I use my laptop. I can work off of it. I do work off of it. It is a lifesaver for me because let's face it, Mike, like you have a day, you have a life, you have a family, but we are committed to our career, our job. This is what we live, love, learn, our passion, everything. But we're humans and we have to roll with the punches and utilize technology. And this is one thing here that, that allows us to do that, allows us to be mobile and fully functional and still accomplish our day-to-day tasks and agenda items and deliverables.
Yeah, staying up to date is important. And when you think about, getting a ping from someone after hours, I look at it, I get updates from news circuits, sports, and things of that nature. And, just like in those things where it's something that we choose or that we're interested in terms of our work, getting the latest information prior to the next morning, even if it's just, I get some information from the client, Trisha, I send you a message in Teams, it may be 8:30 at night. It's not actionable at that time, but at least when we come together and confer the next morning, you've already have the latest and greatest information and probably know how to approach it. We do have a good question here. So with so many options and Teams that Microsoft has given, there are articles out there with charts that are kind of helpful in explaining certain things and tools within Teams. This user is wanting to know which do we use these types of comparative charts with our clients? Can anyone take that question?
Yeah, I can start, and then we can have some conversation about it. So, as most of you can probably feel my pain and everyone's pain at this point, things are changing so rapidly. So tools and features are being rebranded all the time. So it is difficult to keep up with it, but I think it's important to kind of know or to go through which tool shines best at what. So like, let's maybe for to-do is more like a personal task, where planner would be maybe for something for the team. So I think what we could do, or what we typically do, is kind of get an understanding of how our clients are using the tool currently, and then with the added features that come along with like a Teams and a Microsoft or M365 product suite, kind of look at their current workflow and see how we can make recommendations on what tools could solve those challenges that they have on a day-to-day basis. And I hope that isn't too vague and answers the question, but that's typically what we want to do is get an understanding of the workflow, and then how can the technology solve the challenges in the business. We don't want to just throw technology into the wild and see how, see which one emerges as a champion. We want to kind of strategically solve a technical problem with the technology solutions that we have.
And
Yeah.
that's what's,
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
Brian. Quickly, I was going to say no.
Yeah.
So, like you say, Mike, listening to the client, and I remember when we were first introducing Teams to clients and doing presentations, there were certain areas, certain functions and features, but they were still limited. Now, it's the breadth of features at this point. Um, it would be too long of a presentation if we try to just do a data dump presentation style to our clients. So it is important to figure out what the client is using, and then at that point put together some sort of presentation charts, documentation that would help them better utilize the features they're currently using, or taking the workflow and being able to translate that into Teams and some of the add-ons and integrations.
And that's why I think it's so important for us to stay on top of what's coming down the pipe by attending conferences like Ignite, just to see the direction that Microsoft is taking the product line. Because, I mean, we're all technology professionals, but there's mornings where I open the Teams interface and it looks totally different than it did last week.
Yes,
so,
sir.
You know, if you're just getting on the product and you're facing that kind of rapid change, it's difficult to make sure that your end users are adopting it the way you intended them to. So it's really important to kind of understand the workflow and what technology solves what problems. So I go back to that every time, and just making sure that you've got a good framework in place, so that way as changes do happen, it's kind of a recursive process. So, you know, we've gone through some training, we've made some quick reference guides and some materials, and we've tailored that training. But if there's a change, or if certain training's not working the way we intended it to, and the product's being used differently than what we thought it would, we go back and tailor that and kind of retool it and start again. So it's an always evolving process.
Yeah, and I think we've done a good job, or a better job, of communicating those changes via our social media and the website. And again, we're getting better at it, but there are many changes that are being rolled out by Microsoft. It's hard to keep up, but the changes seem to be at this point with Teams so far necessary. I'm sorry, Brian, I interrupted you earlier. I didn't forget about you.
No, you're good. I'm adding that to the project risk. I'm kidding. That's no, you're good. No, just to add on to yourself, Jose, and to Mike, some good points would be also, that's why we have breakout sessions. It's really key for us to know when we first meet an external customer, what are your needs? Here's what we understand from the SOW, but capturing through Teams as well. How can we help? Here's our best practices and from Microsoft, and here's how the application is being used. And I think to Mike's point, everyone, I hope I don't hear a groan from the audience. But that's why you're here, agile. Mike's referring to the old iterative process, but through this agile process, and that's what's so key about it is we have to be nimble and adapt. Because back in the old days, we used to focus so much on waterfall, but by the time we deliver, let's use the example for Teams. By the time we deliver Teams, and the client is 3 months out, the client goes, well, wait a minute, Divergent, we were looking for XYZ. How come we're not seeing your latest update? Which, this is a great question. That's why we ask for patience from the teams, because through typical agile process, we have to adopt the latest iterative approach in different phases. And that's why the breakout sessions are so key.
So let me ask you a question. This is to all of you. So if you go back prior Teams, pre-Teams, how do you find it, how much easier is it to be able to project manage utilizing Teams versus, let's say, whatever you were doing 5-6 years ago?
So I can just kind of go back to the example I gave before, creating the project schedule with all of the disciplinary teams or multidisciplinary kind of units and teams on the phone at the same time, being able to gauge how long a particular series of tasks are going to take and what the resource spend is on those. I think just being able to have a one-stop shop for that and collaborate is tremendous, and that's something that Teams has allowed us to do.
Yeah, you nailed one-stop shop there, Mike. It definitely it allows us so many features and so many things that we can do for a one-stop application.
Okay, so Mike, you were talking about some of the features and integration you use now. So that replaced what process? What were you using then?
Either the need for an all-day session with a catered lunch in some boardroom where we're all kind of going through papers that we've printed out, and trying to make sure that we've been able to, let's say we have to reach out to our team members to make sure that they agree with what we're saying that the schedule could potentially be. I mean, we can jump on a quick instant message, whatever, to get that information kind of real time and wrap it up right then and there. So it's alleviated the need for a large physical kind of in-person meeting that could potentially take 4 or 5 hours for a large project, and condense it into maybe an hour or so, where everybody can be communicated to in a succinct, quick way, and it's effective and efficient. So, we've had conference call ability and screen sharing to some extent, but not where you can bounce around between multiple folks' screens, update documents real time, and then the ability to kind of share the information internal to all those specific teams that have to do the work. To me, we've never had the ability to do that like we do now.
Well, not just that, but I feel that those endless email threads have come to almost the brink of extinction.
Yeah, they happen once.
Again, yep. If there's data that we need or information, we can just hit a button, meet now, collaborate within the channel, schedule a meeting, and what have you. Okay, so I heard the terms everything, right, regarding planner and calendar. So are those the top 2 go-tos in Teams for PMs?
And I would say, document collaboration. I would say those are the top 3.
Yeah, I would agree with Selena. I would say at least the collaboration, the calendar, because to Jose, to answer your previous question, before Teams, I love comparing with cars. You're comparing like an Oldsmobile to like a Toyota, because back in the day, there were so many places I had to store things, and you had so many different projects. Accessibility was such a tough thing to do, or something was always breaking down because it was overloaded, and there was always so much confusion on where something was stored. Versus with Teams, you create a channel, you go, okay, I know what this project's called, I can find the different channels in between, then here's my next project, and it's so clearly organized. But yeah, I'd say the calendar feature and document sharing has been critical for me.
And that's a good analogy, because Oldsmobile, that line is not in production anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, to add on, as far as like the apps and stuff, I know that we've already set up the whole project piece. I haven't had a new project to be able to actually utilize it to sync back and forth to PWA. But I mean, I'm actually excited to actually use that functionality, when I get my next new project, where my schedule, whatever I put in plan or in Teams on the projects, app, it's actually going to sync back to PWA. So that way I can actually manage my schedules a little bit better. So I'm actually excited once I get my next new project to be able to do that.
So in a pinch, do you guys think that being that Teams is pretty much device agnostic, if you had to, for one day, your computer's broken, we're sending you out a new one, if you had to manage a project from your tablet or your mobile phone, do you think that would be easy to do?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I do.
Without skipping a beat.
I just picked up an iPad Pro, and I will bounce back and forth between my my Surface laptop and the iPad Pro, and it's super easy, no problem. As long as I'm using OneNote, OneDrive, and Teams, it's easy. I can jump right on it. So, in the event that your computer cracks or whatever, and you need to go into the boardroom for a meeting, you can grab another laptop and not miss a beat. It's awesome.
Yeah, I've actually done screen sharing from my mobile phone, so during a Teams meeting, in a pinch, right? So.
Yeah. So
go ahead, Mike. Well, I just wanted to follow up to Barbara's question about Microsoft. Things are always changing names, and how we deal with that. I think the name changing, the different applications switching from, each app, I think they all feed upon each other, and you just kind of find the best the best app for your particular situation or for your company.
Yeah, not just that, but you can also pin the apps right on the side there, so you don't have to go looking for them. You can just click on the navigation bar to your particular app and just kind of jump right into it. But I think to me, that's the game changer with the integration of application and Teams, where it essentially is a dashboard and I mean, regardless whether you're a PM, whether you're in HR, leadership, um, um, you name it, even field techs and those out in the field, there's app integrations that you can create a dashboard or it acts as a dashboard to you to look into your day, monitor certain systems, whatever that may be across the board. So Teams has become the app that I'm going to open up first, regardless of how my day starts, to figure out how I'm going to manage my day.
Yeah. So I had kind of an unrelated question for the group. So I found myself recently recording project meetings. So just either whether it's for historical or if we're doing, let's say, a working session and we want to go back and let them have that for just reference for the client. And this is kind of contrary to what I said before about using OneNote and being able to retain the information better if I type it out in bulleted points. But I do notice that the newer feature with the transcript being created is awesome. So if you're in a pinch and you don't have somebody to record or capture meeting minutes for you, and you're facilitating the meeting and actually kind of doing some of the work on it, you've got a transcript of the entire call right there for you. So you can go back and either view the meeting or use the transcript. And I just didn't know if you guys were using that feature or not for some of your projects, but I just thought it was interesting and thought I would share with the group.
Yeah, that's been a lifesaver for me.
I saw it, and being that pretty soon we'll be back getting on airplanes, trains, and automobiles to get to client sites, we won't necessarily be always able to listen to a recorded meeting, but to have the transcript there and then be able to just pull from it as essentially an automated meeting minutes, if you will, right? And it's verbatim. It's not even notes. It's a transcript from what actually transpired. I think it's a great tool along with the few others. But yeah, I saw that. I like that. The other thing I like is during meetings sometimes, if I have an issue understanding someone because of volume or what have you, I turn on the closed captions, and I find that that's very helpful as well.
Good to know.
Yeah, that's definitely helped me a lot in the last couple of weeks, is being able to go back and have the meetings recorded, number one, but the transcripts are pretty cool to be able to go back and look at those. And even if you have to type up a synopsis of what happened or just provide technical documentation, you can grab snippets of it and copy and paste it. Don't have to recreate that entire transcript. So,
do we record meetings enough, you think, guys?
I don't think we do. I think we could do a little bit better with recording meetings and stuff like that. And especially now, since there's actually the transcribe, I think that's something that we should utilize more often.
I would agree with Selena. I think we have to use it more often, and I haven't used the transcript feature yet, which is going to be super helpful, but I would say I would definitely use it more often.
No, but I've worked with you, Brian, and I there were times where we were trying to figure out if one thing was said versus the other in the meeting, and for some reason we forgot to record that particular meeting. And when I say record meetings, it could be any meeting, right? I'm referring to like those project update meetings, not just with the internal teams, but also with the client, right? When you give them a weekly or bi-weekly update. And again, we're trying to maybe have a question of something that was said, and we had forgotten to record the meeting, and we couldn't go back.
Yeah.
I personally, you guys, I know like some of the working sessions and some of the project meetings that you guys have held recently where I couldn't be a part of, when you're doing the persona development and things like that. I've actually really enjoyed being able to go back and listen, not from a, just hearing that every little bit, but understanding some of the technical process and how you've evolved from A to Z. Those recordings really from my perspective, really help. And I can understand, a little bit more about the approach that you're taking on some of these projects, because it's one thing to see it in theory, but then as you guys deploy the projects, it's really cool to see how that evolves and to hear those conversations. So I've really enjoyed it. So, I hope you guys take advantage of that recording and the transcription stuff a little bit more, because it's been a really good learning experience for me as well.
Yeah, and I made the point earlier, Emily, and I'm not sure if you were on, but if we're doing a working session and kind of going over the reasons why we made certain technical configurations on a piece of software that we're implementing, it really turns into a training session for the client. So they've got that forever that they can go back and say, okay, well, this is where we click to turn on XYZ. If I want to adjust that interval from 90 to 100 days, I know exactly where to go and click that. So that to me has been a really good feature to use for that. And it's what's better than having a video of the interface and being demoed than having to go through 50 pages of technical documentation. So
yeah, very true.
Yep.
Yeah. I can't believe it, you guys. We're down to 4 minutes. We only have 4 minutes left.
Hey, I just want to say that I take pleasure in having to work with PMs that are also IT professionals. It's almost like going to some sort of dentist for implants, and he's also an MD, right? Not that I need implants, but just as an example.
Yeah, you may have left us speechless, Jose. No, I agree. We'll leave it, a couple minutes here at the end as we're kind of wrapping up and saying thanks, and just, I'll see if anybody else in the attendees has any other questions. Please add those to the Q&A on the event. If we can't get to it, we'll certainly respond with our information afterwards. But last thoughts, you guys, 2-second roundup from everyone that's participated today. What is the one feature that you go to most in managing your projects? I know we did our top 3, but if you had to leverage one thing and one thing only in Teams to manage your project, what would it be?
The Microsoft project integration.
Can't wait.
Trisha, what do you think?
While we're waiting
Oh, there's so many.
You gotta pick one.
Well, we didn't get to mine. I like the praise feature. I think that's a great opportunity for us to end our day and give recognition to our team for hard work. So I really like that feature. I think that's a win-win for everybody. Nothing like a good feel-good kind of, just a little thank you goes a long way. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, you're right. That's an awesome point, Trisha. Brian or Mike?
Yeah, mine is the meet now. Trisha called me out earlier. I've got a rule of thumb that if it's 5 or 6 messages and we haven't got on the same page, I'm hitting the meet now button, and we're gonna get it straight. So that way we don't have to keep going back and forth. So it keeps me more efficient.
You mean, Mike? I was gonna say, Mike, you mean by the 10th time? You sure we don't wait till 12? I'm kidding. No, I like the meet now too. No, I think Trish, you have a really good close. I think just saying thank you, because we're a project is only as good as its entire team when we come together and we deliver. And I think the excitement is across all the PMs. There's been many great projects that we've delivered, and it's a thank you to the entire team. It's a testament to everyone's knowledge, everyone working together, and as a PM, we're all humbled to work with you. And hey, Trish, I think that's great. I would agree that at the end of the day, after a long day, kudos, for the entire team.
Awesome. Well, great. Well, Jose, anything else from your perspective?
No, I've enjoyed this session. It was very informative. I found it fun. I can't wait to do the next one.
All right, awesome. I can't wait either. Well, I just want to again thank everybody who was able to attend today. I would like to thank the project management team and Jose for your help and co-moderating this session. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all of you. I know schedules are busy. We've said it a lot of times that our days are definitely full and ever evolving. So I appreciate you taking the time. I've enjoyed the conversation, and I look forward to our next one. And I look forward to talking with each of you later. So thank you for your time, and thank you to everybody who was able to attend. We appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.